Hey there, welcome to another Ask Me Anything session where I'm responding to your questions about the book publishing industry and how to strengthen your story. Thank you so much to everyone who's leaving me comments and engaging with these sessions. I hope they continue to be interesting and that you get value out of them. Before we dive in, let's get a few things out of the way. First things first, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to join this amazing community of more than 20,000 writers. While you're at it, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button because it helps my channel reach more viewers. And finally, head down into the description below to check out a free resource I created specifically for my YouTube community called my Story Self-Assessment Worksheet. It's an easy, fun quiz designed to help you look at your manuscript from a different perspective and identify areas that you are doing really well, and then areas where maybe you could improve to then take your story to the next level. Downloading that is going to sign you up for my newsletter, where I share exclusive interviews with publishing industry professionals and successfully published authors, so you don't want to miss out on all their amazing tips and insights. If you want to go straight to the newsletter, I have the link for that in the description as well. We have some great questions on deck today, so let's go right in. First question here. My question might be a bit unusual. I have already been lucky enough to have a few successful nonfiction books, including one that was on the New York Times bestseller list. Since then, my brilliant and cherished literary agent passed away. Now I have written my first fiction book, a historical mystery novel that is set in my time and place of expertise. How should I get this information properly into my query letter without seeming immodest? I'm very awkward about self-praise. First, congratulations on your amazing publishing success so far, and I'm so sorry to hear about your literary agent passing away. I totally understand why you are feeling a little bit hesitant or awkward talking about those publishing successes in your query letter, but ultimately, approach them as facts, because they are, right? You're not saying your book is the best thing in the world, you're saying it reached this bestseller status, which it did. So present that information matter-of-factly in the bio paragraph of your query letter. It is likely going to be attractive to any future potential agents that you have already published a best-selling book, because that speaks to your writing ability and your ability for your story to resonate with readers. So at the beginning of your bio paragraph, simply explain your situation and say something like, I am the author of Title, which spent X number of weeks on the New York Times bestselling nonfiction list. My agent name passed away, and I am now seeking representation for my fiction work. And then also include a little bit about what you do outside of writing and where you're based. Nothing in that is going to sound immodest or presumptuous, so definitely give them the information as it stands, and you will be good to go. Here's the next question. What type of writing awards are big enough to be included in a query letter bio? I won 3 honorable mentions for my pieces I submitted in a writing contest in a region that includes 9 states. I would love some more insight as to what is important enough to be included in a bio. There are tons of writing programs and awards and contests out there, and frankly, I don't see why any of them are necessarily off limits or too small to mention in your author bio. The one you referenced as being inclusive of multiple states definitely sounds notable enough to mention. I think the only area where I maybe wouldn't mention a specific award in my author bio is if it is tied to a high school or university career, because your work that you would do as a student likely doesn't reflect the work that you are doing as an adult writer now, and those awards tend to be a bit smaller in scope, right? Limited to the university setting. That said, if you have any type of award associated with an MFA program, then I would definitely reference that. But outside of that, I would say pretty much anything goes. There are obviously going to be certain contests and awards that are really well known and well recognized in the industry that are going to catch an agent's attention, but they're not going to discount you as an author because you reference an award that they've never heard of. What that's going to show them is that you are putting yourself out there as an author, and people are responding to your storytelling ability, which is a plus. Here's the next question. Apart from personalizing the query letter to each individual agent, can the bulk of the letter be recycled to multiple agents? Absolutely. If you had to personalize the entire query letter to every literary agent, then you would spend your entire life querying. So definitely the majority of your query letter is going to be recycled and reused. I recommend creating a template document where you highlight or you change the color of the text you need to adjust for each agent, and the rest is going to stay the same. So the areas that you might change and or personalize would be the opener line to the query letter. I really like it when an author calls out a specific client or a specific book that an agent has worked on, because then that shows that you have done your research on them and it shows how you might fit in with their existing clientele. The only other area that I would potentially recommend tailoring is your genre if your story is a blend of genres. For instance, if your novel kind of straddles literary fiction and thriller and incorporates elements of both, when you are approaching literary agents who are more on the literary side of things, then you'd likely emphasize the literary aspect of the novel and say something like, my literary novel with suspense elements, versus if you are querying a very commercial thriller agent as well, you might say something like my literary thriller, for instance. So those would be the only two areas I would look at personalizing, and honestly, for the vast majority of authors, the genre doesn't need to be personalized and can stay the same as well for every query. Here's another querying related question. I'm here staring at a full spreadsheet of agents, and I'm struggling with sending out those first queries. My thought is to submit in batches of maybe 5 or 6. Then I think there's no way I won't be rejected, at least at first, so I should anticipate that my first few batches of agents will reject my manuscript. With that in mind, how do I even get started? Which agents do I burn, for lack of a better phrase? Any tips on organizing the process of sending out queries would be so appreciated. I totally understand where you're coming from, and I often do get questions from authors who are wondering how they should balance reaching out to dream agents versus agents they're less sure about or agents that are newer in the industry. Because of course you want to maximize your chances of success, especially with those dream agents. There's a few things that I would think about here. First, there is absolutely no rule that is saying that your first queries are going to be rejected. It could be that in your first batch of queries, you find your literary agent, right? That happens. Obviously, just because querying is such a numbers game, it is unlikely that the first batch is going to be where you find your agent, but that doesn't have anything to do necessarily with the agents you're choosing, more so that you have to cast a really wide net to find your right agent, right? To me, it does sound like you are overthinking it a bit, so I would detach from the idea that this first batch is definitely going to be all rejections. What I recommend doing is in each batch of queries, mixing it up. Maybe you query a few newer literary agents as well as a few highly established agents who you really respect. Maybe you query a mix of agents from small boutique agencies and bigger, more corporate agencies, right? Just keep a good mix in each of your batches, because there really is no way to predict how your queries can go. All you can do is press send and see what happens. So I would encourage you to get to that point and try not to let the fear of rejection keep you from pressing that send button. Thanks so much to everyone who submitted questions today. And if you have a question you'd like to ask, drop it in the comments here and it will be added to my queue for my next session. Don't forget to hit that like button if you are enjoying these sessions, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and don't forget your free story self-assessment worksheet and my newsletter link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching and happy writing.